He's either gonna enforce a fight on the 23rd of December or he's not. And the irony of Frank, with all due respect, or Uncle Frank as everyone was referring to him on Saturday nights, suggesting that he needs a little bit more time. Isn't this the same situation as when Anthony Joshua lost to Usyk in a far more meaningful fight, I might venture, and the Furies and Warrens were saying you need to fight him at the end of November? With plenty of time to turn around. Isn't that the same logic being deployed, or does it not? Well, it doesn't work that way with the Fury camp, because you have to believe probably 10% of what you hear and 5% of what you see.
Yeah.
The bottom line is the most important thing. I don't actually think, in all due respect to Frank and to Tyson Fury and his team, that the 23rd of December date really matters, as long as the fight is going to happen. If the fight is going to happen during Riyadh season, as Frank has regularly said, it doesn't really matter that we get stuck up on dates. Otherwise, we disappear into the sort of debate that we have already with Eddie Hearn about dates being the prevalent thing. It's the fight. If it's going to happen, then that's the most important thing. But a lot of people would have heard a lot of things this week from Tyson Fury. The fact that ultimately he likened Ngannou going into a fight with him as a ping pong player going onto centre court and expecting to beat Novak Djokovic in the Wimbledon final.
Yeah.
That was a comparison that came out of his mouth.
Well, it's clear that Alexander Usyk's camp know what they're in with Tyson Fury. And this morning, the man who promotes Usyk's fights, Alex Krassyuk, he was on the move. But it didn't stop him talking to Talksport. And he took a step back after I said to him, all right, you're man against Fury. When are we going to see it?
I have no idea at the moment. Some minutes he thinks he's ready to go, and other 5-10 minutes he's like hesitating. I have no idea. We take a short break to work out the plan.
Alex, can you no longer be confident in anything Fury says?
Can anyone be?
What does Alexander want?
He wants the undisputed. As we agreed in early September, December 23, we have set up a training camp for him in Spain. He is focused on December 23, and he wants to push for December 23.
Fury is saying maybe in the new year. Would you be prepared to wait till the new year?
Well, it's not something that we agreed for, but if he's really injured, what can we do? This is number one. And number two, we would not like to beat Saturday night version of Fury. It brings no benefit and no credits if you beat up a man like that. We want Fury to be in his best shape ever. That's what we want to see, because we are thinking not just about the belt. We try to create the history, and the history has to be spectacular.
Alex, Usyk says if Fury doesn't fight him in December, he should vacate the belt. Do you agree?
Why not? Listen, Fury had to vacate the belt a couple of years ago, but we know how this business works, and we need him. We need this personality in boxing. He's bringing a lot of attention to our sport, and no matter how positive or negative the character is, we all benefit from this.
The judges gave Fury the fight against Ngannou. What did you think?
I had Fury ahead on points on my card.
Oh, that was Krassyuk off and running. Simon,
He's got to say that, hasn't he, really? Because he wants the fight with Fury to have some meaning attached to it.
One thing that stood out for me there was that Krassyuk quite openly and honestly said, look, here's the thing, we don't want to fight the Fury we saw on Saturday night.
Yes, and I think that's probably right. But and actually, in fact, if they want to win the fight, they actually do. Because if they want the Fury, that's the real Fury, that I believe is far better than what we saw on Saturday night, I maintain the view that Fury will beat Usyk and beat him comfortably. They should actually want the Fury they saw on Saturday night.
But it's not sensible, is it, for him to fight on the 23rd of December, is it? I mean, you think about the bruising that he took. This is a heavyweight boxer that, if we look in the past, Lennox Lewis may be a part. This is a proud heavyweight champion that we should be proud of his merits as. He's a British champion. So we want him to be ready at his best. We don't want him to fight if he's not really ready. Now, it didn't go well the other night, so it's a case of, okay, look, we have to change. We have to change the plan. We can't send him into camp too soon. There's an injury. He cut his eye. That's going to happen.
He cut his forehead.
Well,
that's hardly an issue for a boxer, really. And it's the same. We've got
to
have an equal playing field. Everybody is proud of people's achievements. Some of the things that comes out of their mouth, I don't think you can be proud of. I don't think you can be proud
Let's just look at the boxing
after the Usyk fight. I don't think you can be proud of certain other things that Tyson Fury said in the recent
I'm talking about the merits of his boxing.
But let's look at the merits. Let's look at the merits of the argument. And he's been given plenty plenty of praise for that, and unfortunately a little bit of criticism, and therein lies a problem.
Well, he fell below the
But
standards that he set.
he has said previously that the fight against Anthony Joshua that he so graciously offered him after Joshua lost to Usyk, and not an MMA fighter that hadn't fought for 2 years and was in his first fight, right? That he should fight him then. So why isn't the same standard? And by the way, we're only judging Tyson Fury, like Adam Cattrall said on his show Saturday evening, by the things that come out of his mouth. He is the one that said this fight will happen on the 23rd of December. Otherwise, I sue people. I'm sorry.
Bipolar, isn't it?
Neither is anybody else. I'm sure.
Always a shot
say a
his
lot of
mouth,
things.
poor
They
Tyson.
say a lot of things going into fights, and afterwards, reality sinks
A
in.
contractual obligation is a contractual
Yeah,
obligation.
but hold on a minute. Tyson Fury is the one that everybody wants to fight, isn't he? He's the collateral in all this. You've got to give him time to be well enough to fight. And would you want to fight him as he, in the shape he was in the other night?
Yes, if I'm Usyk, because there's one chance of winning. If I'm Usyk,
But then we'll always
by the
say
way-
that
by
he
the
was
way,
never
he's
at his
got
best.
3 belts, and Tyson Fury has got 1. So there is more collateral being brought to the table. We can argue that Usyk doesn't have the same popularity and the charisma that Tyson Fury often and not always exhibits. But notwithstanding it, you need a dance partner, and that dance partner with Usyk that brings 3 belts to the table. And the bottom line with Fury is he operates on a set of standards that he doesn't deploy himself. He's gone into a fight that we saw on Saturday evening that I wasn't going to watch, and circumstances gave me an opportunity to watch. So I climbed back from that position.
I think he's going to come back fighting those Sunday.
He's going to come back and win.
But
He has to,
maybe this is maybe
He's
this
gonna
is
come back
maybe
and
this
win.
is the wake up call he needed,
He's gonna
because
come back. I mean, let's not lose sight.
complacency must have set
Behind
in.
all of this, well, Frank
He didn't
Warren,
do it.
Frank
Did
Warren
he do the
has spent-
training?
Frank Warren has spent the entire morning getting very cross with me, telling me that it's got nothing to do with complacency. It's got nothing to do with not being prepared. Pretty much shut my mouth about that argument, because Ngannou was a lot better than people anticipated, and us pundits that talked about him being a novice were wrong. So what I've got to now just my argument that the world's greatest heavyweight that we all think has struggled to overcome a 37-year-old MMA fighter that hasn't fought for 18 months, has had knee rebuild surgery, that is making his debut in boxing. That's our WBC glorious generational champion. So we have to give it context, and I couldn't care less.
But they
if it's
underestimated
Castro
their
Lightning's
opponents. Maybe
observations.
he's almost the worst
The
opponent
bottom line
for
is
him.
this, Marcus,
He likes to
John
bully.
Simon, if it had gone
Fury
to-
bullies his opponent.
If it had gone to plan for Fury on Saturday night in Saudi, and he got rid of Ngannou earlier, he'd be fighting Usyk in December the 23rd.
All we care about really is if we want to be pedantic like certain people are and make it twist on the points, we're only concerned, insofar as either one of us are concerned, is that the fight happens. And I don't care if it happens on December the 23rd or January the 29th. Let's have it right. I only care that it happens. So if people want to start beating people up over dates, the only reason you feel the necessity to do it is because Fury opens his mouth and says the most ridiculous things, and then starts getting upset when he gets pulled up about it. The bottom line is that in that fight there was a really good argument on Saturday to suggest that Tyson Fury didn't win, and there's a really good argument to suggest there were reasons why it was given to him. Now those are arguments, they're not facts, they're arguments, and that's what happens in debate. People make arguments, and the fact of the matter is that the scorecard was given to Tyson Fury. There were lots of people that were suggesting that fight. I looked at it from what my opinion was worth, and I make a case for a draw. I don't make a case for Tyson Fury.
I mean,
I tell you what, I
but he
listen
reflects.
to the Usyk camp, who know damn sight more about it than I do, and say they make it a Tyson Fury win, but they would say that.
But Fury looks at
because
that now,
vested
doesn't he?
interest.
Simon,
They won the
look,
fight.
so look at the embarrassment for him if he'd have lost that fight. This has got to be a
Well,
huge
look at
wake
him.
up. It's a wake up
But
call for him,
Martin,
isn't it? Or he
look-
walks
but look
away.
at the
no?
embarrassment of the noise. We've got somebody on camera telling us that he should be given special dispensation by the government. He shouldn't have to queue at airports, right? Because of the hundreds of millions of
100%.
pounds he's brought into the English
It's
economy
inevitable.
for fights in Wembley Stadium of 90,000 people. If you believe that's hundreds of millions, Tyson, then you're away with yourself. But notwithstanding it, your achievements as a fighter have been remarkable. But you also look at the other side of the argument. When you want to make a claim to be the generational great heavyweight, Anthony Joshua's had 12 world title fights. Tyson Fury's had 6, 3 against the same fella,
Yeah.
and 2 against people that he's already beaten. Right?
Very good fighter, by the way.
So,
Well,
with that in mind,
not underestimate
we have
his
to have
opponent
a
in
fair
that
and
situation.
a fair and grown-up conversation. Will he beat Alexander Usyk when they fight? In my opinion, yes. Did that fight create a situation where all of the background noise, all over, because what's happening in Saudi,
He can
is
only
all-
be the best that's around in the era that he's in, and you have to say in the era that he's been in.
So
he's
we
been
get,
the
we get a
dominant
really
fighter.
good non-league. We get a really good non-league centre forward to come and run you ragged when you're in the
Well,
Arsenal.
maybe he just made the perfect.
That's the levels, isn't it?
Just the opponent he didn't want. He was unorthodox. He kept switching his stance. If you look at Fury,
all that though, Martin, the feeling out there is strong about where Fury stands this Monday morning. There's one lead. Good morning, everybody. If Frank Warren and Fury do pull out the 23rd of December fight, Fury should vacate the belt. It's almost fraudulent what's going on. I mean, Simon,
fraudulent.
Fury,
Fraudulent
he
boxing
has a
around the
clip
world.
before he went
And the
against
commission.
Ngannou. If Usyk doesn't fight me the 23rd of December, then we'll be suing him.
But we also know, in fairness to Tyson and to Frank Warren, that we know lots of things get said in a build-up. Tyson, we saw, and it did make me cringe, and Frank would probably get very cross with me, when Frank's standing in the ring saying, it's up to the boss, it's up to the boss. I sort of sat there thinking, right, okay, I'm not sure I would refer to myself in that position if I was in Frank's position. But the boss in this instance believes himself to be Tyson Fury. We saw the deadline. We saw it on his Netflix documentary where he's doing a countdown. He's being advised on the phone by the Queensbury, don't do this, Tyson. We can still get this fight on. Don't set some false deadline at 5 o'clock. Let's do it. No, deadline, bang. Fury now says deadline is 23rd of December. So he's getting caught in his own silliness.
Yeah.
It's laughable. But do you know what's worse about it all? We're all talking about Tyson Fury and his performance on Saturday evening and his behaviour last week doesn't really warrant it, I'm afraid. But here we are talking about it.
In the meantime, we'll talk about the expensive kiss. Luis Rubiales